Okay, and we are live.
All right.
Hello, everybody. So,
good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Good evening on a special.
We're not wearing stupid hats
edition.
tonight.
We're not. Well, we can do that at a moment's notice, but no, indeed we're not. I'm representing the YouTube, but yes. So, because I am off to Korea tomorrow.
Yeah, North Korea. Is it North Korea or?
Not this time. Not this time.
No.
But yeah. But you know, of course, big anniversary today, 3/11.
Yeah, big anniversary.
Did you observe?
Big anniversary in English. The Japanese get confused. Why? Why do you call it an anniversary? But it's okay to say that. You know, they don't know that.
Yeah. So Emily Louise Maitland was actually in Fukushima 1.5 years ago.
Really?
Apparently, it was met many survivors living in temporary housing. I kind of like to hear about that. In fact, again, tonight was kind of thrown together, so there's no guest, but I'd love to get her on sometime, actually.
Yeah, she's another newbie. A lot of newbies coming up through the ranks. That's good.
It's a good thing. It's a good thing.
Yes, you must replenish the ranks. Yeah. Anyway, so there's a lot of news, of course. All those good feel-good stories are in the news today. Anything that particularly caught your eye?
So there is one story which caught my eye recently, which has nothing to do with 3/11, but I put a link for it on the video and I directed people to it. So it's from Rocket News, which has translated the original articles in Japanese.
Mm-hmm.
They translated it to English, and it's called 5 Reasons That Foreigners Find It Hard to Become Friends with Japanese People.
Ah, okay. There's always a list, right?
There's always a list. So this is the 5 things.
Mm-hmm.
So the first thing is the gaijin card. That thing that you get to act like a gaijin and act like you don't know what's getting on, the diplomatic immunity from that. And the point of that being that although it can be great and favorable, it can, you could always act like an idiot and get out of situations. It also it works because you're an outsider and a foreigner, and that can work against you as well at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
The second thing pointed out is the constant praise.
Which, your mic is a little what is that? Is that your computer or? Yeah,
it's my computer actually. So I'm using the USB mic, the camera mic, because this is for some reason not connecting still. So the sound is crap, and I'm sorry about that. But the second one that they say is microaggression, our favorite topic. So the constant praise.
Oh, congratulations to Debito.
Yeah. Like, when are you going back to your country? And wow, you're really good at using chopsticks. And basically, too much praise on stupid things, which makes people feel.
They don't call it microaggression, though, do they?
They do.
Oh, they do
microaggressions. They actually quote it.
What do you know? Well, no, I hear he's back in Japan. He's back from Hawaii or wherever the hell he lives.
Really, they let him back in. So yeah, but the point is, at the same time, while it's praise, it confirms the stereotypes that people feel offended about. Why
is your penis so large? No, don't get that one.
Yeah, that's a macroaggression. That's a big aggression. The next one is
actually no. Let me ask you a question, personal question. Oh. When I first started dating my wife, and I won't get too personal, but
yeah, you never do.
She commented that she thought I was an extremely good hugger.
So she said that? Baby
my wife.
Oh, your wife. Oh, that's good.
She said she was surprised at how good I was at hugging.
Are you sure? Because I would just, okay, I'm not implying anything, but remember that in Japanese, HU is pronounced as FU, and G, depending on the dialect, can be.
Could be, I suppose.
She might not have meant hug.
She has a list. So
you're very good.
Either way, it's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
No, but it's something that apparently Japanese guys don't do, is they don't hug.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Did you have anything did your wife ever comment on anything that was strange about it? Well, not necessarily bad strange, but just different in the way you dealt with her compared to other men? For the people. I mean, no, seriously. I'm not trying to be funny.
Well, I don't know. Well, I guess I'm kind of glad I didn't get much of the comparison treatment she did. I've had girlfriends who have constantly there's nothing more annoying. I mean, I'm sure this goes for both genders. There's nothing more annoying than a girlfriend who's constantly talking about her exes. You know what I mean? And I mean, not that your case is that, but
I've had that happen, but it's usually not a bad thing. Well, not to.
Well, even when it's positive, it's still annoying. Like, why are you talking about that?
You're right. You're right. It's like why you bother? Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, I guess. So to some extent, also I've had some exes perhaps I've done. They're not really my wife. I mean, she doesn't really compare that way, I guess.
But nothing particularly special.
I'm just trying to think. I got nothing. I got nothing. I don't know. I mean, are you sure that the hugging compliment wasn't a microaggression, perhaps?
No, she seemed honestly surprised when I hugged her goodbye after our first date. I didn't kiss her, and I just gave her a hug. Goodbye.
Willie Shinobi 84, our man in Costa Rica. I think it's Costa Rica.
Willie Shinobi.
He says that he apparently was told that Latin guys are good kissers. I'll take
really?
his word for that.
Well, he's a Latin guy, and I guess he would know if Willie, just kidding you, man. I've always thought about getting him on because he is.
It's interesting, right?
If I remember correctly, I think he went around Japan in a wheelchair.
That's right.
So he has some experience there. I'd like to get him on sometime, but.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so go back to your list.
We
got microaggressions. We got the guy who
points out that her boyfriend is a great hugger. And again, I don't know if she's saying that with an accent or not, but yeah. So, what are we up to?
Emily Liu, is her boyfriend Japanese or a foreigner?
Actually, that's a good point.
Emily?
Yes, that she could be disproving you right now.
Yeah. Well, it would be great if he were Japanese, because I would
A Japanese who can hug. Yes, I all for that.
No, face hugger. What's that? What's a face hugger?
I don't know.
I went from a Latin girlfriend to a Japanese girlfriend. It's the hardest adjustment ever. I've been there. No big deal. In the end, it's all the same. The Japanese women and Latin women are just as
what are Latin girlfriends like?
They're passionate, but they give you the cold shoulder as well. And they get angry. It's just as bad.
That sounds pretty just normal, actually.
Yeah, it's not that special.
I always wondered what it would be like dating a Russian. They always seem so unfriendly.
Yeah, I think I'd be kind of scared.
But I'd be pretty much scared as well. But but at the same time, I'm always kind of curious. Like, what are they like when they're actually with someone that they like and not acting kind of mean all the time?
Also, just demand sex whenever they want. They'd like use you. It'd be kind of. I'd feel like.
I remember I read a great blog by an American woman who lived in Russia for a number of years. And she was talking about how in Russia, apparently, like men are more masculine men. Like in America, men are kind of turned into pussies. And she's kind of saying how, like men in Russia are more kind of old school, kind of masculine.
Right.
She's saying, with men in Russia, no means
yes. There's homosexuals in Russia, of course.
Oh, so, yeah. I'm saying in Russia, no means yes, and yes means anal. I like that quote. I thought it was kind of funny. I guess they don't have to be nice.
Her boyfriend is Japanese.
Well, there you go. Awesome.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of.
Well, we want to have him on the show too.
But honestly, what is it? All the coolest girls that we have on, I mean, date Japanese guys. I mean, I think if you want to prove your awesomeness stock to me, I think that's it. So I think that's awesome. Yeah. Oh, by the way, big congratulations. Well, I don't. Well,
it's public.
Yes.
Public.
It's public information.
Amanda Parks and Megwin getting married.
That's right. Well, Yum Yum Sesame.
November. It's coming soon.
Yum Yum Sesame and Megwin getting married in November. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So congratulations to you guys. I think she's still in Japan right now. Yeah.
So is that like the first YouTube Japan marriage? I know there've been other YouTube marriages, but I'm not aware of other YouTube Japan marriages of J-vloggers. Has it happened?
Wow. Let's see, that Japanese girl. Did she ever get married?
I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, could be, maybe.
It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing.
Who do we know who's gotten married to another Another
Another
person
YouTuber.
at all? Well, that was on YouTube. Nobody.
Yeah, well,
I got married when I was on YouTube, but my wife wasn't on YouTube, so that didn't count.
From what I hear, I mean, and you can tell kind of watching, I'm pretty sure Megwin would be a pretty good hugger.
There
So,
must be
yeah.
somebody. They can't have been the first in 6 years. It took six years for this to happen. Oh, there is one person. Ban Awesome and his girlfriend. They both were YouTubers, but they're not J vloggers.
Okay.
But they both met on YouTube, and
there you go.
good on him.
That's good enough.
But she's much better looking than he is, and he'll be the first to admit that. So.
That's right. Emily Louise Maitland says it was no accent, her hugger thing. Well, I'm not going to go down that path. But
There was no accident?
with no accent.
Oh.
No, Australia's some tricky accents around there. But anyway, back to the list. We're getting sidetracked.
Back to the list.
On the subject. So the next one is the mystery. This idea that basically in Japanese, so wait a minute. It really does feel like Japanese tend to mince words. It's difficult being friends with a person who never directly tells how they feel or what they think.
And I was watching this blog the other day about, it's called How to Learn Any Language, How to Become Fluent in Any Language in 6 Months by some professor, blah, blah. I tweeted it out. And it's interesting, but one of the things he said is that to be a good language learner is you've got to learn to accept ambiguity, which I thought was interesting because Japanese are terrible at accepting ambiguity. Whenever you're teaching Japanese, when they're learning. Japanese is one of the most ambiguous languages ever, right?
Well, that's right. I mean,
but when you were teaching English to them, they want to know exactly what every word means, and they would stop, they'll pause, look in their dictionary, and they'll discuss it, and
well, the problem
be happy until they know exactly what they're talking about. But at the same time, Japanese is so ambiguous.
Well, they treat language learning like a science. That's the problem. Yes. They think it's all algebraic. Dog equals inu, and there must be a formula for every single expression.
Yes.
When, as you say, their own language is so vague. And this is the whole thing about it's becoming a kid and learning to express yourself with limited tools. You have to actually be creative, I think, more than you have to have a great memory.
Yes.
You have to be able to express yourself with limited tools, and that's absolutely right. And vagueness and understanding, and yeah, exactly. It's a huge part of communication, which Japanese get in their own language. But I get what you mean. It kind of breaks down when you get into a different language. So I guess this is...
Well, generally speaking...
so what they've got here is that it's hard for foreigners to make friends with Japanese because foreigners are often left scratching their heads, unsure about the other person, the Japanese friend's true intentions and feelings. You know what? I guess I can relate to that. I've had an experience where back in the old days when I was a Kashiwa-based surfer, and I've been to a few kind of parties, and there was a couple of girls. There was a girl
with that crazy murderer went by with a bicycle.
Yeah, great advertisement for the hometown.
Come to Kashiwa.
Yeah, come to Kashiwa. Random man stabs 4 people outside of his apartment. But but there was a thing, and there's a thing with Japanese girls sometimes that when they like you, and I've had this happen a couple of times. They kind of when they're acting they're kind of nervous and standoffish when they like you sometimes.
Yes.
Maybe it's not just Japanese girls, but there's a thing where I've had a situation where there's been a girl I've really liked, and I've known she's kind of into me, and the party was kind of done to set us up, and she wouldn't come near me when I tried going and talking to her. And I got so frustrated by it, I kind of said screw it and went after her friend instead. And all my friends were like, dude, what are you doing? I'm like, no, screw that. But I don't know. There are times where the ambiguity in the signals can certainly become too much, and I've definitely encountered that. I mean, even when
me too. Yeah, definitely.
So I think it's a legitimate one.
We're just friends, and I don't like you. I remember this one girl, and we were good friends, and we always joked about how we would never date and everything. And it was mostly her joking.
Yeah.
I thought, okay, I get the idea. It's a fine. It wasn't a big deal. Yeah. And then she decided she was going to do a homestay in Canada or something. Like the week before, suddenly she decided she had to tell me how she really felt and throw herself on me, literally.
Sounds terrible.
No, but here's the weird thing, and this has happened a couple times. You kind of have this slight romantic feeling with a girl.
Yeah.
Nothing. You're not really dating, but then she goes off to another country, and she insists on calling you her boyfriend from that country.
Oh, yeah.
She goes, I want to make sure that you understand that we're like dating. I'm like, you left Japan.
Well, yeah.
I think it's all basically a free for all for now. It's happened. No, it's happened.
I've done the long distance thing 1.5 years. I was good until I got dumped, and then I realized that when we actually got back together, it was like within a few months of getting back together, we broke up. And I realized, man, it was such a mistake waiting for you. And I'm not making that one again. Oh, youth. This is the whole thing. Well, we all have our idealist phase, you know, when we're all like 20 years old and 21 years old, and oh yes, I'm going to wait forever for you.
But when you tell them not to wait, no one understands, and no one believes you, and they wait. Screw you! You don't understand. I love her so much, and I can't. You know.
Oh, yeah. And you know,
fine.
I was thinking there were so many people who were so much better than you, who I should have totally gone off with during that time, and I was so good. I was actually good. But this is all part of the learning curve of life, isn't it? You learn.
Oh, so you were good. I was like, no, we're broken up. You left the country. That all deals are off, baby.
If your ankle bracelet says that you're more than 50 kilometers away from me, I'm
right.
free.
Exactly. Basically, if we're at a radio reception, it's over.
Yeah.
So. But for some reason they'd feel a need to call and make sure that we were still like dating.
I was the reverse, and you know, and my girlfriend was, well, you know, was hooking up with her boss apparently at the time. So.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Well, that was honestly, coming to Japan like a faithful, you know, honest, idealistic boyfriend, and then moving to Tokyo and then getting dumped within 3 months. I mean, best thing that ever happened to me in my whole life. I mean, honestly, I still feel like I should, you know, I don't know, buy some chocolates or something and say thank you because of all the stuff I got to do after she dumped me.
But it is true. I mean, yeah, you get stuck into a relationship, and even if you're completely in love with her, which you apparently weren't, but. Well, once you're free, you're free. You really, I mean, there's so much you can do, and especially if you got your youth. Whoa, that's great.
Yep, that's right. So,
Victor Kuki Yomenai, you don't know that. No. You know, I'm actually very good at Kuki Yomu.
Except with your speakers. But no, that's okay. You actually, it's all good today. It's all working. We're technically functional, except for my mic won't work, and so you can hear my PC fan. So I'm sorry about that.
Hiko is testing rockets for North Korea. The noise you hear is a plane's engines.
Facehugger is from the movie Aliens. Thank you, Ahmed. Yes, that's right.
The other person we've got to have on, I was thinking this before we actually had the show tonight, was Michael Gillian. I'm not sure how to say her name. Peckett.
Yes.
Who has cerebral palsy and lives in Japan. And he has quite a few.
He's got a great blog. He's been published in the Japan Times.
That's true.
And he's an interesting guy to talk to. Yeah, no, I'm all for that.
We'll have him on time. You don't have to wait till that we get that guy on though. If you have Wheelie Shinobi on, he can have you on. Separately. We don't have to bunch all the people with physical problems. Let's see. All right, cool.
There's more. There's one more.
There's one more.
The last one, actually, and this is a fair point. The constant planning. You know how Japanese people, you know, foreigners like to be kind of spur of the moment.
Yes.
Japanese like to plan everything.
You cannot have people over your house. It's got to be like you invite them like 2 weeks ahead of time.
That's true. Even with friends and with dating, like, you know, you can't just call them on Saturday and say, "Hey, can I come over?" It's like, you know, you have to almost, you know, there's like a 7-day minimum preparation period of scheduling.
No good girl will go out with you on the same day, unless she's a slut, which is cool. I mean, nothing gets sluts. We shouldn't be prejudiced against sluts. I think sluts have a bad reputation as it is. You know?
They perform an important function in society.
Yes.
But
an ex-girlfriend told me that once. I invited her like on a Friday to go out on a Saturday, and she was upset. She goes,
"What do you think I am?
If you really liked me, you would have called on Wednesday." Like, really?
Yeah, you have to have some train fare. Jeez, you know, well, yeah, and that's, I mean, again, I was always, I'm having a girlfriend, and it was like, and one, it's totally normal in Japan, and this is actually one thing, I guess, where I have trouble with, where I would have trouble going back to foreigners, is that, you know, foreign girlfriends kind of expect all your time, all the time, even while you're dating. You know what I mean? Like you have to call them every day, or you have to kind of see them every day.
Yeah.
Whereas Japanese are like
twice a month,
one day a week, if that. And I've had a girlfriend who was like, "Yeah, sorry, I'm busy this weekend. Can I talk to you next weekend? Can we meet next weekend?"
Right.
And as far as I'm concerned, that's the same as going outside of the 50-kilometer radius. Yeah.
That's true. That's true.
Or at least where I was. I mean, honestly, we're not even really dating if it's once.
But I teach businessmen. I teach businessmen. I did have a couple of these before we started. I teach businessmen who tell me, yeah, once every 2 weeks is fine. And one of my students, who's a really cool guy, he works for Macintosh actually, making the iPad covers. He said once a month. He said I only want to meet her once a month. That's enough. I'm busy. I got lots of stuff I want to do. Hang out.
But that was exactly it. And this is a part of the other reason why one of my theories, which I've repeated many times, as to why the birth rate is low, and Japanese are staying single. You know, people say, oh, they're sexless, or they're too perverted, or they're or they're all these kind of weird kind of things. But honestly, I just think in modern Japan, life is just too comfortable and too convenient when you're single, and inconvenient when you're married and you've got kids and so on. And it's just easier. A lot of people are just very happy in their lives and their hobbies and meeting up with their friends and you know, to actually have a proper relationship with, like, the type of relationship that foreigners have with the other person constantly around, and kind of you have to hang out with your girlfriend and not do your hobbies and stuff like that.
I was talking to an older woman today who used to have a really shitty relationship with her. Well, she was one of my students, with her husband. She'd always complain. I said, "You don't complain about your husband anymore."
Yeah.
I said, "What's up with that? You guys getting along now?" She goes, "Well, I got used to him." And she goes, "And I have all my hobbies." And then she said, and I was reading an article today that said, 8 out of 10 people. Is it? If you, I forget, but anyway, if you have a hobby,
yeah,
you have a hobby and you have time for your hobby, there's an 80% chance you're going to be happier or something than if you don't. And I was thinking about that. I was like, you know, if I had time to pursue my hobbies, I think I would be happier too. If you had like a lot of time to pursue your hobbies.
Well, I mean, that's kind of what this is. I mean, to some extent.
It is, but I want more time to do like YouTube shit, you know.
Absolutely.
I mean, I gotta squeeze out. It's like going to the bathroom. I'm lucky if I get to go once a day, you know.
Well, yeah, and you know, I've given up surfing and rugby, and you know, for family time, which I'm very happy to do. But of course, you do wish that you could have that 8th day in the week, that you could have like selfish day.
Yeah.
And that's it. Just, you know, and these people who are choosing to not get into the marriage thing are having, you know. They go on 2 weekly rounds with one girlfriend day, and you know, outside of work, 2 or 3 selfish days. And sure, that's great. So yeah, it kind of makes a lot of it. I mean, I don't know. People are always pointing like it's a problem, but maybe they've actually got it figured out better than everybody else. I don't know. But at the same time, I must admit, I mean, I found it kind of frustrating having a girlfriend. I mean, you know, I'm definitely not the everyday, and I've had that as well. You have the girlfriend who kind of tries to immediately move in just while you're dating and stuff like that.
Yes.
And that was super annoying as well. I really did enjoy my space, and you know, at least until you meet the right person.
Yeah, I made a mistake of giving a girl a key too early, and it turned out she's gonna spend I thought, you know, when you want to come and go when you want, but she thought it meant come. Let me wait for you when you get home every single day. Like, oh my God. You're here again. That's nice. Hi. Yeah. I have some stuff to do, but feel free to, you know, do whatever.
I had one girlfriend like that, and it was actually like she would like put hair in the, you know, she would like put hairs around the place deliberately so that, you know, I don't know, like marking her territory or something like that. And
with hair?
Yeah, with hair, like, and it was kind of grossing me out. Well, Japanese, but had lived in America for too long, and frankly was a bit
Japanese nuts. Usually hate hair lying around.
I know.
So, like they see one hair, they freak out like it's like you took a turd or something.
Well, and so she actually one time, and I kind of noticed it was kind of annoying, and I was like, and I'm not a finicky, tidy person by any means, but you know, I kind of like, but it crossed the line for me when I found she deliberately put hair inside the freezer as well.
What?
Yeah. That was those. I mean, that was a very. That was about a 2 week.
Yeah, that's beyond romantic. That's just.
No.
That's just unsanitary.
So the funny thing, it was, and it was so funny because you know, I went out one day and it turned out, and this is another thing that foreign girlfriends do. The Japanese girlfriends don't go through the mobile phone, but I hear that overseas it's pretty normal for
no,
to expect to go through the phone.
I've had a Japanese girl do that.
Okay.
In fact, she stole my phone, and I woke up, she was gone. I'm like, she's gone, my phone's gone. I'm like, oh shit.
Well, she was going through my phone, and she found I was getting emails from girls, and she was very upset. And it was kind of cool because I was kind of covered. I wasn't responding to them. So she found it, was acting all angry and outraged, and I was kind of like, well, when it calm down, take a look. You can see I'm not responding to them and whatever. And she said, okay, then I forgive you. And I'm like, okay, I don't forgive you. And this was like my chance because I was totally grossed out by her with the hair in the freezer and everything. So I was like, okay, now you're gone. Well, that was awesome. But yeah, that was a no mercy. But yeah. But she was not at all Japanese. Most of the Japanese girls I know, and it's partly, you know what, that they don't look at your phone because they don't want quid pro quo. They don't want their phones looked at.
No, I've had my wife has looked at my computer before, looked at my email before.
Your computer.
Well, if I leave it open, she'll like look at it and so say, "What's this?" And I'll say, "Oh, no, nothing." I mean, I haven't had any problem with my wife, but luckily, because I've been married. But when I was single, I had one girl who went through and she looked at all the, you know, the ex-girlfriends who were in there, and there were old emails in there too. So she was reading them. Yeah, I didn't erase them.
We had a whole filing system, didn't you?
I was single for forever. I was single for 30, and you know, from 22 to 39. So. Well, that's a long time to be single. 18 years. So yeah, I got in a bit of undeserved trouble that way, I thought.
Yeah. So Philomena Young points out nerds are happier. True story. And it's kind of true. I mean, it's true. I mean, people talk about the nerd thing, the unmarried nerds, like it's a problem, but if they're happy, is it a problem? Well, I mean, it's kind of a macro problem for the society, I guess. But there again.
Who says this?
Philomena
Young. Nerds are happier. True story.
Yeah. Why not? Yasashi 89.
I like your name, Philomena. That sounds like a fake name, Philomena Young. That's a cool name.
Yasashi 89 says, "Can't making babies be a hobby?" Well, and the answer to that is, kind of. Well, so long as you don't actually make babies, yes, it can be a hobby. But things change after that.
Practicing is
practicing is a great hobby.
Good to see you, Yasashi 89. By the way, long time no see.
Yeah, lots of people saying here. So Pop would know people. I told you. People who don't know me, they ask me if I'm South African, and I get that. Even New Zealanders ask if I'm South African. So
there's a New Zealander out there. Did you see? You didn't see my last video yesterday. I put it out.
No.
It's called JME-JPN.
Jamie Japan. Okay.
Jamie Japan. JME-JPN, and he's a New Zealander, and he talks he has of course a very similar accent to you.
Well, except. Yeah, New Zealand. Okay, so now people are making. Thank you, Dan Cowell, for making fun of my accent.
He's
time for me to go on the rampage against Dan Cowell. You've done it once. I'm going to start trolling. I'm going to start trolling the commenters.
Dan Cowell.
Dan Cowell. What kind of a name is that? What kind of a name, eh?
Is he the openly gay guy?
Well, gay and you know, animals and so on. But yes.
No, don't mix them up. Come on.
No, I'm sorry, I'm not mixing them up. I'm just saying he's just not choosy.
That's kind of creepy discussing. What's he talking about? What's creepy discussing? Going through the phone? Or?
I think that possibly the hair thing. I don't know. Lots of shedding. Crazy girlfriend show. What about the tsunami? Indeed, we're supposed to be talking about the tsunami. So the taste. I should just explain. We're talking about 5 reasons that foreigners find it hard to make Japanese friends and kind of weird behavior. Somehow we got into weird behavior from ex-Japanese girlfriends. You're right. It doesn't really connect very well with the remembering the tsunami thing. But there again, I'd kind of rather be having this conversation than the tsunami as well.
I'll tell you one thing that's difficult if you come over when you are older. It's that a lot of Japanese make friends, and this is completely true. All joking aside, completely, is that they make friends with their junior high school students and their high school students. And when they're they keep those friendships for a long time. And even my wife still goes out with her junior high school friends.
Well, that's very true. Japanese with Japanese, yeah.
Yeah, and they kind of don't have room. It's almost like all those positions have been filled. They have time. I mean, you can become friends with them, but it's a little bit harder. You're at a disadvantage because they've all got their groups of friends from those eras, you know.
Well, that's very true. And this is another thing. Like a lot of foreigners say, like Japanese. I've lived in Japan for 3 years. I had my Japanese teacher in New Zealand, an English guy, said I lived in Japan for 6 years, but I almost never once got invited to a friend's house. Even I thought they were really good friends. They never invited me to their house.
Right.
But you know, it's really like for Japanese with Japanese. That's not because you're a foreigner. That's just that people don't have people over that often. They tend to meet
Very
outside.
rare. Yes.
And exactly as you say with making friends, it's hard for Japanese people. For a Japanese person who moved from Nagoya to Tokyo, it's really hard for them to make friends. You know, because Japanese are really close and they really stick to exactly to their high school and their junior high school social groups. Even my wife, when she goes and hangs out with friends, half of them are old school friends. You know.
Right. Yeah. And that guy I told you about who works for Apple, he moved here from Fukuoka.
Yeah.
And before that, he was in Osaka.
Yeah.
And he says that he says I have no friends. Like it's really difficult to make friends.
Yeah, I think that's really cool.
I've got friends already, and all my friends are back in Fukuoka.
And I know friends like that in Tokyo. I've got from my company, for example, and they point out they're actually jealous of the foreigners because, like, with foreigners, to some extent, it's pretty easy actually to, you know, there are people who always come up and are friendly with foreigners. You go to a bar, everyone comes up and talks to whatever. It's kind of easy to kind of connect with people when you're a foreigner.
Yeah.
But it's kind of hard when you're an average Japanese schmo from out of town. It's kind of hard to just, you know, people don't just walk up to you and be nice to you like they do with foreigners, and they actually get jealous of that as well. And it's true as well. There are kind of groupies isn't maybe the right word. There are foreign groupies, no question. But there's also just a lot of people who are just kind of predisposed, like they kind of want to have a foreign friend or someone to hang out with like that. So there's always, to some degree, I think you'd have to work pretty hard at it as a foreigner to not have Japanese people to hang out with if you really put your mind to it. But, you know, in terms of having deep kind of friendships, like, you know, for emotional support and stuff like that, and this is maybe another thing as well, maybe Westerners are kind of demanding in what they expect from friendships when they come to Japan. I think, you know, friends in Japan don't meet even once a week most of the time, even dating. I mean, even dating like we're talking about. And, you know, and honestly as well, I don't think, perhaps if they're really, again, if they're maybe from the high school friends, like that level of closeness, but I don't think Japanese are very good at sharing their, you know, their emotional insecurities and stresses and stuff either.
No, they're not. If they have problems, they probably won't share them with you.
And
but at the same time, I've had tons of housewives approach me and tell me I'm divorcing my husband, and they won't tell the other students. So the divorce thing, they think, okay, you're a foreigner, you're not going to judge me if I get divorced, so I'm going to tell you. I've known quite a few divorced people who want to tell me, and their friends don't even know. Yeah. So there's that weird.
And there is that thing, isn't there? This is the foreign guy. He's going to be gone in a couple of years anyway. I can confide in them. There is that kind of weird thing that, you know. Yeah, he's not going to tell anyone I know. There is that kind of a thing as well. And that's also actually just part of the appeal of foreigners to some people, both as friends and as as partners.
We're good at keeping secrets.
Which isn't necessarily true, but at least we can, you know, to the people who they care about not finding out, I guess it makes sense.
Yeah.
But at the same time, yeah, I mean, I'm definitely now very aware as well that I'm probably not as emotionally accessible. I'm not sufficiently emotionally accessible as a person probably to date an Australian or a Kiwi girl now, I don't think. I don't know, I get the feeling I'd probably get pretty worn out by by neediness. It is a nice thing. If you don't like needy partners, I think Japan's actually pretty good like that. Because people are pretty self-sufficient here, almost too much so. I mean, it's the other way. It's good. Well, it's not always the case though.
Your wife is not very needy, is my impression.
She's not needy at all. Right? No.
Yeah. Neither is mine.
No.
Fine.
And maybe that's part of the appeal.
They don't need us. Just pay the bills and, you know, don't make too much noise. I think.
Seriously, do overtime. I don't mind. Stay at work.
But, you know, when you speak, I don't think you know. See, here's something you don't know. Probably, luckily, I teach a lot of older women who are married, and they tell me, you know, oh, my husband is retiring. And he's gonna come home, and everyone else is like, "Oh no, that's terrible! There goes all your free time. Yeah, I don't know what I'm doing with him. He's gonna be just, you know, just getting in my way. I wish he'd go do something. This is terrible." And they're really upset about it.
Yeah. Well, that's from that generation as well, where women didn't work and men did work, and they were never at home, and again, they're living, you know, their own separate kind of lives together, and then they've actually had to live together. And yeah, no, there's a big thing about the 60-year-old who divorce. You know, when they find out that for the first time, when they actually spend meaningful time together, they discover that they don't actually get along.
Well, they've been waiting for their husbands to retire so they can divorce them. There's something called Hessel. What's it called? Hessel. I forgot the. Oh my God! It's the secret money that's
Hessel. Yeah.
They store all this money. They've been hiding all this money and waiting for their husbands to retire so they can divorce them, and they live off the rest of all their savings that they've been holding.
Well, and not just savings, but after a law passed like 4 or 5 years ago, now they get 50% of the husband's pension as well.
Oh, really?
After the divorce, and that's why. So that's why there was like this. There was this period where there was like a temporary drop of like 30% in divorces while they're waiting for the law to come into effect.
Oh, really?
And there was a little bump afterwards, but yeah.
That's cool. Hey, I was talking to Tikio Sam 2 days ago, and he was telling me how there's all these other foreigners who have nothing to do with YouTube.
No.
Who apparently all these people exist out there.
I don't believe it. Not until I see it.
I think you guys should get some of these other people on, and if anyone, I think it's a great idea. And you know, I know you're not against it, so.
No, I know. It's just a matter of organization and preparation, which are just weaknesses.
Hard to get someone who's never been on camera on because they're a bit shy usually. You know,
no.
For you and me, it's no big deal. But yeah, if anyone watching this knows anyone, or if you are that kind of person who thinks they have something, you know, you're established in your field or whatever.
Then, you know what? I prefer it not to be self-recommendations because for a lot of the self-recommenders can sometimes fizzle out a little bit. You know what I mean?
If you know somebody else, then.
Be vouched for, but yeah, maybe. You know.
You know somebody.
So I got a question. Let's come back to the 311 since it is 311 today. And my question for you is: do you actually what preparations do you have ready for the event of a major earthquake at home? Do you have an emergency kit?
Nothing, but I keep thinking I should tell my wife, in case there's an earthquake, we should agree to meet somewhere, which we haven't actually got around to. So I'll do that tonight.
Yeah,
that's about the only thing I think we should worry about.
Well, I always talk with my wife about how we get home, you know, in the event of a quake, and who would go and pick up the son and so on. Mm. And it's funny, I think in the end of the day, when it happened, my wife was actually locked in her building for more than 24 hours. They wouldn't let her out.
Really?
So I had to go home, but she was in an area that was basically at sea level, and so they wouldn't let anyone go out into the subways. They were worried about them flooding. So she was actually locked in her high-rise building. You know, I had to go around and do everything anyway, and the phones didn't work. But you're right. I think having the rendezvous kind of point idea.
Tokyo was a mess that day. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny. It was basically no damage, but it was just enough. It was big enough that it you know, shut down everything.
Mm.
The real lesson for me is one: we always keep lots of stock of like bottled water. We always have now like 6 boxes of stock, and we just we take water out of the stock all the time and restock. So we keep a lot more tin goods, and we keep a lot more water.
At the school, we've got about 20 or 30, maybe 20 bottles of water.
Yeah. Your school is like walking distance, is it? I mean,
no. Well, yeah, it's an hour away. It's 50 minutes away, so if walking. Worst case, you know, I've walked home before.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's not that bad. Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't be terrible. And so Yoko too. She works near the school, so we've got to agree what to do. But I think we would both try to get home.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be that hard for either of us. We would have to just walk an hour or so.
Yeah.
We haven't actually verbally agreed to that. So. I'm gonna go and think it through. I'll go.
And you know what? I mean, so this is something I was kind of opining about the other day. It's interesting. On the 10th of March, yesterday, is the anniversary of the Great Firestorm in Tokyo, the firebombing in 1945, which predated the A bombings, but was pretty much
and actually was
destructive.
Much worse, right?
Well, it was as bad. I mean, like if you remember how bad the tsunami was, and that killed 20,000 people in a day. But yet the firebombings killed 100,000 people and injured 150,000 people in the same period of time. I mean, it's kind of mind-blowing to think about. And you think about how it happened. I mean, in a firestorm, pouring petrol out of the sky and setting on fire.
Right. Yeah.
That's not fun. I mean, and it was. Well, it's just it goes to show us. And I did a thing on this on Facebook. I talked about how, in a way, it's kind of a shame that the A-bombs kind of, in a way, have become the focal point of the immorality of World War II that can't be repeated. I mean, that in the Holocaust, perhaps.
But actually, the bombings were worse.
Well, the whole point about what the Tokyo firestorm proves is that you can use ordinary conventional weapons from planes, and they can have an effect just the same as A-bombs.
Yes.
But yet we still keep bombing people from planes still today. I mean, we haven't used A-bombs, we haven't used nukes. There's kind of this morality which has been generated that even in war you're not allowed to use A-bombs anymore. But it's still perfectly okay to go to drop large bombs on cities from 40,000 feet up and hope that it hits the general area. And we have a lot of wars where a lot of people still die that way. There's never been an established morality against it per se, at least in war, which is kind of maybe if people.
I've always found using the word morality and war in the same sentence just seemed ridiculous.
Well, yeah, but there again, the problem is if you don't, then it's a free-for-all. You have to have, I mean, given that you can't stop the fact of war happening, you can't, and I say this coming from a military family, right? So the whole idea of soldiers is that, without any kind of discipline or any kind of honor code or moral code for soldiers, they literally will do anything, right? And this is what happens in some of the ugliest conflicts. But the whole idea of having a professional military is that there are guidelines of what they will and won't do and how they engage and how they won't engage and what weapons they can and can't use. And that's it. Yeah, it is kind of bullshit at a certain point, but having that is why there haven't been nuclear weapons used in a war since World War II. So, yeah, to some extent it's bullshit. But if you accept that argument, then you release everyone from all the rules when there is a war, right? So I don't know. I think it's still better to have something than nothing.
Yeah. But the thing is, I mean, people break those rules all the time, except for the nuclear weapons. But chemical warfare all the time.
True. And And I mean,
the U.S. make them. Even if they don't use them, they make them and sell them to other countries. It's just
and aerial bombings are still the absolute first choice of American when they project power. I mean, not quite fire bombings. They haven't repeated that kind of a thing per se, but in the end of the day, it all adds up sort of the same. So yeah, I don't know. It's kind of that anniversary where in one day 100,000 people died in Tokyo, and remember also 20 years before that was the Kanto earthquake, where again all of Tokyo kind of burned down 20 years before, and they rebuilt it, and then it all burned down again.
And then that's when they blamed all the Koreans, right?
Well, there was in the aftermath of the Kanto quake, there were apparently massacres of foreigners, in particular Koreans, who were blamed for I mean, it's kind of this thing. They blame them for the breakdown of law and order, so they formed mobs and killed them. I mean, where is the breakdown in law and order happening? But and then you had the Tokyo firestorm, and then you have again, and these are events, and it comes down to the mentality. I mean, this is the country which produced the Godzilla movies. The idea of and actually, when
was the first Godzilla movie produced? Was it after? It must have been, well, of course, it must have been after World War II.
It was after World War II. I think it was in the 50s or 60s, and it was actually linked directly to the big. So that there was the third A bombing, which was the Bikini Atoll H-bomb test, which irradiated the Fukuryumaru, the Japanese fishing boat, which was supposed to be in the safe zone outside, away from the island, but the bomb was bigger than everyone expected, and people died in that. And it was based on that, I think. So that's the whole origin story of Godzilla, that these nuclear tests in the Pacific, mutated an iguana or something into this thing, and it's kind of had this anti-nuclear
That's also part of the original Japanese folklore?
Well, I think that's
the Americans used that when they recreated.
No, I think that's the Japanese origin story. But the idea being that so there's an anti-nuclear message behind it, but the whole idea being forces of nature, and I think World War II, even the firebombing, Americans aren't really they're not blamed for it that much. I mean, the Japanese seem to look upon the firebombing almost the same way as the earthquake, like it's just kind of a force of nature, and basically just like a Godzilla, like they're just basically waiting to be smited. And it's actually, so there's did you ever watch Malcolm in the Middle?
No, I've never seen that, but now I feel bad because the Breaking Bad guy was in it, right?
Yeah, well, it really is one of the best comedies ever. It's really awesome. People don't rave about it enough, but I really, really liked it. And there's a great scene.
I'll check it out. I'll go watch it on couchjunior.cu.
I posted a video on a scene on Facebook that I like, which actually helps me on these days. And it's so much, it reflects the whole Godzilla mentality, and it reflects the Oh, by the way, Bryan Cranston is actually featuring in the new Godzilla movie about to come out.
I know, yeah. He was supposed to also be Luther in the new Superman, but they switched him out. I don't know what happened.
I don't know. I mean, actually, when I heard there's another Godzilla movie, another Godzilla movie. But when I saw the trailer and I saw Bryan Cranston, I was like, okay, I think I might watch this. But so no, there's a monologue by the younger kid who's like talking to a Sunday school teacher, and apparently he's just lost a pet or something like that, and the teacher's saying, well, sometimes God takes things away. And there's the anthill God monologue. This kid does this monologue. He's saying how I remember one day the pastor told me that to God, we're all so small and insignificant to him that we're all just like ants, and we can never possibly comprehend what he's thinking. And that made me thinking. And I was on my backyard. There was an anthill, and I was looking at the ants. I sat there for hours looking at the ants, and I was trying to figure out which ones look good and which ones are bad and which ones are good, like God would look at us. And then I realized, from up here, they all just look like ants. I can't tell the difference. And so then I started smiting them. At first I used the garden hose, and then I used lighter fluid, and then I really went to town with the shovel. And he sort of said, and then it dawned on me that basically, there's nothing we can do. We're like the ants. There's nothing we can do. We could all just get smited by some guy with a shovel at any time. So we might as well all just be nice together. And you know what? I feel better now about my dog. Thank you for that. So the whole point is just remembering that God's just standing over us. He doesn't care about us. He's just got a shovel, and he could just smite us at any moment. So let's all just be nice to each other.
It's not a bad message.
That's actually not a bad message, and it actually really fits. If you think about the tsunami, and you think about the firebombing, and all of these kind of anniversaries of incredible mass death, and and it's something when you live in Japan that you're very close to. You've got typhoons, earthquakes, tsunamis, constantly, and it's a big part of, I think, the psyche of the country that they have these enormous disasters like that happen periodically. And I don't know. I think it's got something to do with why people are kind of nice and why it's so safe. You know what I mean? It's almost expected that in someone's lifetime that they're going to experience a major disaster like that. I mean, it's been true for the last few hundred years. I don't know. I think, and it comes out. It's that psychology that comes out in the Godzilla movies. But again, it's the big dumb animal smiting us. It can't tell what we're doing.
You're thinking that Japanese people are nice because they could possibly die at any moment?
I think it fits with the Malcolm in the Middle anthill God theory. I think it's consistent, and Godzilla fits with that as well. I mean, no one ever thinks that Godzilla is bad, right? I mean, Godzilla, they have to fight it.
It's like a shark. You get bit by a shark. You're going to blame the shark.
But sure, it's an animal stomping all over the city and, stomping on people. He doesn't care who he's stomping on. He's not looking out and saying, oh, sorry, my bad, to all the people he's stomping on. He's just a big dumb animal, right? And that's kind of what earthquakes are like. Frankly, I think that's how, the American bombings are kind of looked upon to some extent. I mean, not obviously by everybody.
Well, but a lot of Japanese don't seem to hold any grudges towards the Americans.
But they really don't. I mean, remember, they did this, and the Americans did this, and 8 months later, they're in Japan, they're in Tokyo, occupying Tokyo, and it was a remarkably smooth occupation, right? I mean, the Japanese pretty much accepted U.S. rule, and they had it there for 12 years, and pretty much and they completely accepted it. And I don't know, it's just like if you have a quake and they just start picking up, And I don't know if there's any other country, in Iraq, obviously they didn't accept the occupation smoothly.
No, they didn't.
In other countries, but in Japan, it's like, it's just a big dumb animal that's minded us. Let's just pick up and do our best with what's left. I don't know. It's that kind of mentality. It fits with what I see. I don't know if that's actually what it is.
Check this out. Sonomama82 says, I asked my Japanese friends if Godzilla was male or female, and they said that Godzilla is asexual because it was born of radiation.
Well, that's an answer. Respect the fact it's an answer. I'd be tempted to say female, but that's because I'm married. But in New York, okay, another good example. Look at New York, and people talk about how New York changed after 9/11.
Yes.
How the crime just all of a sudden kind of, the crime situation improved a lot, and the whole mentality of the city. A lot of people talk about how it just changed after that.
Really?
Well, I've heard that. I mean, maybe it was the mayor or what's his face or whatever.
The crime was going down anyway.
It was already going down, but I don't know. I mean, it's one of those things that when you kind of faced with a disaster that kind of makes humanity look insignificant, it kind of changes the way that people look at one another. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's an exaggeration, but I have an impression.
I really don't know. I don't know. I never heard anything about that. But But I'm always surprised to hear about how some people, and this happened 3/11 too. Some people take advantage of the disaster to try to capitalize on it.
Well, always.
And that is one of the most depressing things that I see every time.
But you know what? But the thing about, even with that, the thing about that is that I think what a huge disaster, something like, and again, and making them televised, 9/11 being one, 3/11 being another.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Was there a 3/11 in Spain as well?
There was a bombing. There was a subway bombing in 3/11 in Spain. That's right. 6 months out from the. That's right. There was a train bombing. But these kind of things. I mean, if they have any kind of effect, I mean, to me, I think that they serve as reminders of the kind of insignificance of our day-to-day problems that we get kind of wrapped up in, and it's in those kind of problems that people do. You know, that people. At the end of the day, when you're made to feel small and insignificant, and you know that makes you kind of, I think, more aware of and more kind of putting yourself less ahead of other people. I think it naturally puts you in that kind of a position.
You know, you might be right on it might be something that affects the whole populace on a subconscious point of view, but I don't think it's anything that people actually mentally verbalize.
Well, that's kind of the point. That's kind of what I'm saying.
Yeah. But
I mean, and it certainly isn't an instant thing, and it's like a mass trauma.
Definitely plausible. I mean, if you're thinking about it, I'm thinking about it. You know, I can definitely agree that probably happens.
It's something that you can observe, and you can say this is what appears to be happening, and you can make a causal connection. It certainly doesn't happen the day after. I mean, you know, you've got the emergency situation where everyone's on adrenaline for a few weeks and acting, and in that some people are acting good and some people are acting bad. Right. And then you have the trauma phase, which also can go for a long time, where people are just kind of, but as people kind of go through the trauma phase and out of it, and I guess they see other people going through the same thing, and they start to recognize, yeah, it was tough for you too, it was tough for me too, did you lose anyone, did I lose anyone? Right. And I don't know, all of a sudden I think the problems that make people act like assholes towards one another somehow become less important along that chain somewhere. I mean, I think in a way it has kind of a, I don't know. I mean, has 3/11 made Japan a bit? Or maybe it hasn't. But I don't know. I think some of the things I like about Japan, the consciousness about the society and so on. I mean, I think they have some roots in Japan's kind of just its natural disaster proneness.
Mm.
I don't know. I mean, it's just a theory. I've got lots of theories like this. I
wonder about the Philippines, because you know the Philippines has always seems to be even more disaster prone than Japan.
Well, I mean, they had a crazy. Cyclone. But so you take the cyclone though that they had. Now, I think where they've had some of these things, certainly like in Mindanao, they've had these, these rebels, fighting forever. And I think there was a ceasefire after the cyclone. It's kind of logical, of course, this that everyone wants to try to help each other out, at least in the aftermath of that. But yeah, well, I don't know. So Philippines, I guess they have the occasional volcanic eruption. They have a lot of storms.
Oh, really? They have volcanoes over there too? Christ.
Well, they had Pinatubo. You remember Pinatubo? They actually had to close Andrews Air Force Base. They had to actually withdraw from the Philippines because it got covered in a meteor of ash.
Right, yeah.
Which is kind of convenient for the local people who wanted to shut down the base. I guess that's what Okinawans want as well, because it's kind of a similar situation.
That's what they need, right?
Well, they don't need it, but no.
That's what they need to support their cause, right? A small disaster.
I mean, for the people who want them out anyway, but. Yeah, Pinatubo is a pretty big one, but I don't know. I mean, Indonesia has definitely big quakes, and actually, so you think about that.
They suffer a lot too.
Yeah, and Aceh in Indonesia, which is like a huge problem area forever, and then they had like the huge quakes there and the tsunamis, and it's after that they had a peace process. I mean, and I guess it was just because they suffered so much damage there. They kind of needed the help of the government. It's a place where the government could suddenly go into these areas that they weren't allowed to go before, and they could actually, they were actually there to help. So I don't know. I mean, in a way, I guess what we're coming back to is, I guess natural disasters. They have a way of kind of reminding humanity that problems of humanity are kind of bullshit.
They're kind of good in a way.
Well, the point is they remind us. Well, no, but they remind us that our human issues are pretty insignificant in the big picture. At the end of the day, I mean.
Well, of course,
For all
they're
the reasons
not
that we
good, but
avoid
they
the
are
conflict.
timely. Yeah, they're timely reminders of. They put us in our place. They remind us.
They remind us
how
that
we
we're not in
should-
charge.
who we should
And
be.
when we think we're in charge, we act like assholes. And you know, and sometimes we get these reminders that oh no, we have to know our place and show respect. And maybe that's a good thing. To something, maybe there's a positive side. It's not a good thing, but there's a
Do you
positive,
watch,
there's an upside to it.
Do you watch? We better wrap this up. But do you watch Walking Dead?
No.
No,
Is it good?
really.
I don't watch much actually. I mean, when I do, I watch the whole series in a huge like binge hit, like I did with.
Well, you can still do it with this. It's only in season 5, I think, but there was anyway. It's the same kind of thing. It's a natural disaster, right? I mean, so humanity has been destroyed basically.
This is a zombie apocalypse thing, right?
Yeah, zombie apocalypse. But these two of our heroes stumble upon a new character, a black guy with a machete who has he's not even carrying a backpack. He's got nothing, and they always ask two questions. They say, how many walkers have you killed?
Yeah.
And how many humans have you killed? So the guy says, I don't even know how many walkers. I don't know, a couple dozen. I lost count.
Yeah.
He says, how many humans? And he says, 1. And they said, why did you kill him? And he said, she asked me to. And he said, okay, would you like to join us? And then they asked the new guy, they asked the black guy. It's an Asian guy and a white guy, a white trash guy. They asked the black guy, well, do you want to ask us any questions? And he said, no, it doesn't matter who you are. And he repeats it. He's sitting in the back, of the car they drive away. Like, it really doesn't matter who you are. And you could take that both ways. It could be like he's lost all hope. He doesn't give a shit about anything. It doesn't really matter, whatever. Or it could mean, look, you're human, and that's all, and you're alive. And
Kevin, he didn't say white guy and Asian guy.
No, of course not. You can't say that. I'm just trying to create the visuals for you.
Yeah. It doesn't matter. I can see it. You're an Asian guy. You're a white guy. I'm good.
Yeah, and he's a black guy. So, but he said it doesn't matter who you are, and I thought it was interesting. I thought it was it's kind of. I took it as at first I wasn't sure how to take it. Like, is it heartwarming? Is it negative? Is he lost all hope? Because this is the first time we see this guy, or this is the first time we're supposed to have seen this guy. So, but yeah, I took it as it doesn't matter who you are.
So, like, where does 311 fit for you in the scheme of your life and
luckily, and I say this with no pride, but luckily it doesn't affect me much at all because I'm far away from it. It didn't really. The worst that happened was I had to send you some bottled water. That's as much as it affected. No, seriously. I mean, I'm not trying to be a dick, but
but
I didn't have to worry about much. We had everything. We had supplies here. We had food here. I will say, I did make a couple of videos about this. In my neighborhood, they sold out of all the tissue paper and toilet paper. And I think I made a video showing that. Like, it was all gone. People did panic, and people did what's kaidome? It's called kaidome, I think.
Yeah.
When you buy everything, you just buy everything. I mean, that's the worst it got,
Yeah.
But besides that.
Well, and I must admit, I mean, I have trouble with people who are like in Kagoshima describing themselves as survivors.
Yeah.
Or the foreign press.
I was much more torn up personally by 9/11 New York City. That personally psychologically fucked me up. I was fucked up. I mean, excuse me for cursing on your show, but I was really screwed up after that. And I shouldn't, if you think about it, I should have been much more. You might think, oh, Victor, but what about these people? They're so much closer. They're right, they're a couple hundred miles from you. But I didn't know. I've never been in that area. I didn't know anything about that area.
But there was something about the modern age where, I mean, kind of in some respects it's the same for me. I mean, it was a big quake in Tokyo. There's a lot of excitement in Tokyo, I guess. So I had the combination of the adrenaline and the shock at the same time as I was watching. You have a little bit more in Tokyo, but at the same time to watch, a 30-foot tall wave washing over a town, like live shot from a helicopter.
Yeah, I know it was shocking, definitely. Yeah.
I mean, and this is the age that we live in. This, and in a way, I mean, I guess, unfortunately, tsunamis don't happen that often, but that could have happened in any country. And it could be shot the same way. It could happen in Canada. It could happen in France tomorrow. And in a way, I mean, I guess the effect of watching that, it's a little bit different. I guess the closer you are, it does have more of an impact, and that's where it kind of impacted me. But yeah, watching those kind of images is kind of, and again, it's not unlike watching 9/11, you know, and the fact that you could watch that live.
Yeah, and a lot of people thought it was fake. A lot of people watching the first time thought, is this a movie?
A lot of people still assert it was fake. I mean, you know, I mean, it's a big thing, and this is, and you know what? I think there's things like the Kennedy assassination. Something's going to be kind of so shocking that people can't process, or they refuse to process it. You know, they want to find ways to not accept it, I guess. And I think that's part of the thing of what gives birth to the conspiracy things. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I was affected by it, and it's going to be. I mean, unfortunately, I guess people talk about the Kennedy assassination moment or the moon landing moment. Unfortunately, our generation has the 9/11 moment. Everyone knows what they were doing when they found out about 9/11. Everyone knows what they're doing, more or less. In Japan, you know, for us and being in Japan, definitely with really.
Definitely, I mean, that day was definitely, that moment is definitely burned in my head. I mean,
yeah,
in my mind, just like 9/11 was. But luckily, and I don't, like I said, I don't say this with any pride, but luckily it didn't.
No, it's a good thing.
Affect me.
And you guys have.
I didn't have a horse, you know, in that race.
And the thing is,
dog in the race. What's the expression?
A dog in the race. Yeah, I mean that's an expression. But you know, fortunately as well. Well, no, sorry. I mean, you guys have the Nankai Trough quake, which everyone's been waiting for, which is.
Yeah, that's coming up.
Which is the granddaddy earthquake.
You all have permission to not give a shit when I I make my video from.
Don't care about that one.
From some gym, hopefully some gym.
Do you know? Like they have these flooding maps, right, of all the cities. Where you're living, is that relatively elevated? How would you be in a? Have you ever checked a map like that?
We're pretty far from the ocean, is all I know.
Yeah.
I've never checked the map. I know we're like 50 meters above seawater.
I mean, they keep, you know, NHK every couple of months does a new awareness thing where they show, you know, expected tsunami in Osaka or whatever. And they kind of show which neighborhoods will be underwater if they get even a medium-sized tsunami and so on.
Really?
It's kind of shocking. Yeah.
Where do you find this?
Just on NHK, they regularly do these, you know, the latest research, the latest simulations or damage simulations, and you know they do this a lot because the, you know, the insurance companies. And I used to work, you know, for a risk consulting arm of an insurance company. You know, they've got to figure out how much money they've got to have stacked away to be able to deal with these things when they happen. So they pay for it. You know, it's a big part of their, you know.
Well, assuming that people have earthquake insurance, but I don't think we do. I think we've got everything but. I think that is the one insurance I do not have. I have everything but. I have arson and you know, regular car accident and all of that.
But whether you have it or not, I mean, there's a thing that, you know, the Nankai Trough earthquake could be, you know, could in the Japanese economy, you know, and theoretically, I mean, if so in terms of making sure that there's enough, being able to understand it, you know, and predict it accurately is a big deal, like for the survival of the economy and for a lot of, you know, private companies. So they put a lot of money into researching it because they need to know how much coverage they need to have prepared, you know, to deal with it, even if it's not specifically per house. So yeah, no, you constantly get these updates, and it's kind of, I mean, man, the Nankai, and this is the thing. If you're in Japan, the Fukushima is kind of a warning, frankly, about what everyone was waiting for the Nankai earthquake when the Fukushima thing happened. But that's the quake everyone's expecting, and that's going to affect everything from Shizuoka all the way down to Kyushu. But in particular, Shikoku, Nagoya, Osaka, you know, are gonna get it basically the same thing as Fukushima, and they're expecting it pretty much any year.
Yeah, everyone says it's well. They were
waiting for a long time.
The Russian guy said it would hit us last year. So
yeah, and everyone says they can detect and measure the stress on the plates to some extent, and apparently, you know, they're saying it's overstressed, and on the time period thing, it's overdue. So everyone's kind of waiting. But while they said that, nobody predicted the Fukushima quake, and that's. I want to say the Fukushima quake. It was the Miyagi quake. That's where it was closest to.
Well, of course, because the Americans exploded nuclear bombs in the ocean, creating
the artificially. Yeah. And that's the other thing. Without even getting into the radiation thing. Oh, by the way, so there was an article on Bloomberg which I tweeted yesterday. Apparently now the ambient radiation levels in Tokyo are lower than in New York, Paris, or London.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So if you live in New York, Paris, London, you're worried about Fukushima radiation, come to Tokyo. Because it's safer here than where you are.
Did not know that. Where was that? Where did you find that?
Bloomberg. I posted the links for it.
Okay. On your Twitter?
Yeah, on Twitter and Facebook and all that good stuff.
Everyone should. You know, you really do have a great Twitter. Everyone should follow you. Hikosaemon at Twitter.
I'm the Pied Piper. Everyone should follow me. But yes. So everyone seems to be enjoying the Tuesday special. It's good to see. Canada Jean 3, it was good to have you. That was a great show with Canada Jean 3. I really enjoyed getting her on, actually.
I love Canada Jean 3. I'm looking forward to finally meeting her in person. Canada Jean 3, Mira, gonna meet you in person.
Yeah, that's going to be awesome. At the Hanami on the first week of April. 1 month to go to the Hanami.
Yes.
Less than a month now.
Yes, April 5th. We will see you all April 5th.
That's right. Hopefully there will be Hanami as well. We'll see. I think we're on track for that.
Yeah. Well, listen, I better get out of here before the wife hits the sack. I want to go say goodbye to her.
Yeah.
And I gotta ask her where we're gonna meet in case there's an earthquake, just in case.
It's a good thing to do. Everyone should go and do that. Honestly, and wherever, not just Japan, you should always have some sort of an emergency plan.
Just in case there's like a zombie apocalypse, you know.
Zombie apocalypse.
In case there's a zombie apocalypse, where are you gonna meet? I mean, there's another.
But this is the thing. I mean, it could be a Godzilla attack. This is in Japan. You just don't know. And honestly, the impact is the same. So, take it as a big Godzilla with a shovel waiting to smite you. I think that's it. Be prepared. This is the day to remember that.
And by the way, couple things. Next weekend is the 19th?
I guess so, yeah.
I think. Oh, there's two conflicting things. There's these three guys, the three old dudes.
Yeah. That was a fun show as well, that anniversary show.
They've been doing this for 1 year. Congratulations! Yeah. One of the few groups who've kept it up. Yeah. Almost everyone else has died off. We're the only. We
have nothing better to do. We're like these old retired.
There's another guy that I promised a date to a long time ago called Abroad in Japan.
Yeah.
Oh, Abroad in Japan. Yeah, the British guy.
Sounds like the girl's name.
Abroad in Japan.
Hey, there's Abroad in Japan. Yeah.
It's the British guy. He's only got like 12 videos up, but he's got 19,000 subs. His videos do very well.
You mentioned this guy, yeah.
Doing very well. He's a newcomer, but he's kicking ass. And he said he would be free tomorrow or the 19th, I believe. And I've got to get in touch with him. He's first on the list. I've got to talk to him and then the three old dudes and see what we can work out, because I think they're both wanting to be on the 19th. So.
And Jack Edelstein is going to be back in Japan in April.
Yeah, I know. I wanted to ask you about that, his pronunciation, because I noticed in Japanese it's Adelstein.
And you know what? On the Daily Show, he was introduced as Adelstein, and I'm guessing that they wouldn't have mispronounced his name.
Was he?
So I'm going to go to Adelstein. I'm switching that now. So yeah, I think probably April. Anyway, we're going to get him. I have had further communications with him, and it's all cool.
Right.
Yeah. We'll do that. Why not?
Little warm up. All right.
Yeah. Anyway.
So if you're in Tokyo, April 5th, April 6th, probably something on the April 6th, some brunch or something. Watch our tweets. Follow us on Twitter, Japanese for Morons, #4, and Hikosaemon. And I'll see you guys next week on my channel on Wednesday, the 12th. No, the 19th. Sorry, 19th.
19th.
Right.
With probable awesome guests. Good seeing you all. Good show. Thanks for joining us. Peace.